FilmTubers. You know, the people on YouTube that talk about films? Well, they're sometimes known to criticise movies. But I want to be a FilmTuber. So I thought, what better way to insert myself into this scene than judging the movies that FilmTubers have already judged? You know, to get in the right mindset, see the competition. Starting off with Karsten Runquist, and one movie he dislikes, Garfield the movie. If you somehow don't know who Garfield is, he's a fat lazy cat who's ginger, loves lasagna, and makes suicide jokes?
Guard, may I have some shoelaces?
All jokes aside, if you haven't seen the movie, the film stars Bill Murray as the voice of Garfield, who, when his owner John gets given a dog named Odie, gets extremely jealous at the lack of attention. He then proceeds to cast him outside, and against his better judgment, must then save Odie when he falls in the hands of a cruel animal abuser. And you know, when watching a film like this, I really have to remember who they're making it for. I'm obviously not the target audience here, and I can appreciate that. However, that being said, there's examples of films like Paddington that walk the line perfectly of a good kids film and a film that's also great for adults. But I did used to love this when I was younger. And even now I think Odie is so cute. But to be honest, I can't talk about this film any longer without mentioning the fact that Bill Murray signed on to this project because he thought it was written by Joel Coen. You know, one of the Coen brothers who actually made films like No Country for Old Men. But it was actually written by Joel Coen, who is obviously not the same person. Either way, I think Karsten was right to dislike this film. But for me, it deserves at least a slight bit more love for at least being dumb entertainment instead of boring. And to be fair to it, it has CGI that actually looks better than some recent Marvel projects. But next up on the list, we have Shifrilus Productions, and one movie he hates, Surf's Up 2. You know, for this one, I actually have a review from him. It goes something like, "F*** you, you piece of If, like me, you didn't know Surf's Up 2 existed, for one, I am so sorry I had to tell you. And for two, the film once again follows Cody Maverick, who when a legendary surfing team known as the Hang Five comes to Pangu Island, Cody and friends all jump at the chance to join them, both on their team and on a journey to surf the world's most deadly waves. And Shifrilus Productions was so valid for his review. This film is so inferior in every single way. From having almost none of the original voiced cast return, animation that is such an obvious downgrade and looks like one of those knockoff Netflix TV shows, and the film just being a straight up advertisement for the WWE. Seriously, the Hang Five are all based on and voiced by people who work for the WWE. Wrestlers like John Cena, who plays JC, and The Undertaker, who voices The Undertaker. It's a shame. The film is such an obvious cop-out of all that made the first one so original. It completely disregards great characters like Big Z, and tells us how the Hang Five were the ones who made Cody who he is today. Also, it features the executive chairman of the WWE, and he's doing this.
"'Cause I'm an otter, and otters like fish. I just wish you could milk a fish."
Unfortunately, I can't say this rating surprises me. And if you want my official review, it's "F*** you, you piece of Next up, we have Chris Stuckman, and one movie he dislikes, The Boy Next Door. Now, I'd actually never heard of this film before researching for this video, and I don't think I was missing much. But if you don't know what it's about, the premise is basically Fatal Attraction, but just not as good. Essentially, attractive mum and teacher Jennifer Lopez has a one-night stand with a younger boy, who, you guessed it, lives next door. Naturally, the next day she begins to regret it, and tries to move on as quickly as possible. But, unfortunately for her, he has other, darker plans. Let's play a game. Based on these two photos, how old do you think this boy is meant to be? Well, if you somehow answered 19, then you'd be right. He was actually 26 when this was filmed, if that's a surprise to absolutely anyone. But yeah, aside from that, not much to say on this one. Chris Stuckman was very valid in giving this an F. He mentions in his review, Jennifer Lopez is an English teacher who focuses on classical literature. I don't think I need to elaborate more on that. To be honest, the film isn't great in most aspects, and the dialogue in this film is interesting. Also, Luther from Zeke and Luther is in this, and he gets beaten up, if anyone remembers that show. I might regret saying this, but maybe I should have watched Norm of the North instead. With that being said, let's move on swiftly. Up next we have 24 Frames of Nick, and one movie he hates, I'm probably going to regret this one, The Last Airbender. You know, this project might genuinely be my least favourite film of all time. And if you haven't watched Avatar, please don't watch this. I'm begging, just watch the show instead. Either way, The Last Airbender follows Aang, or as the film calls him,
My name is Aang.
as the Avatar, a human capable of controlling the 4 elements: earth, fire, water, and air. However, everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks, and Aang must learn his full potential to end the 100-year war. I just want to start off by saying that the Nickelodeon cartoon show is still one of my favourite programmes of all time. In fact, I even own the whole thing on Blu-ray. But this movie takes an absolute apple-sized dump on its face. I mean, it's just awful. The casting, the CG, the dialogue, the story, the pronunciations are so bad. I really don't think I can spend too much time on this one, because the video will just be too long. It takes 5 men to lift this boulder. They tried to cram a whole season of a show into one movie, and it gave no time for any actual development. There's not even a scene where Aang decides to keep Momo. He kind of just lands on his shoulder and is there for the rest of the film. I will say though, at least Yue and her phallic hair get some sort of redemption by voicing Asami in The Legend of Korra. You know, 24 Frames of Nick is the most valid for this rating. Although, that being said, he did rate Citizen Kane 1 star, so, Last up we have Jeremy Jahns, and one movie he disliked, Minions. Actually, on further research, he didn't mind this movie, but a couple of the others did, so I guess we'll see who's right. So, if you haven't had the pleasure, Minions follows the Minions, you know, the small yellow dudes from Despicable Me, in a journey across time to find and follow the most evil villain of them all. This film focuses on 3 in particular, Kevin, Bob and Stuart, who get tangled in a plan with the world's most maniacal mind, Scarlet Overkill. And honestly, any film ever is an upgrade over The Last Airbender, even Minions. You know, I think I'm actually with Jeremy Jahns in this one, and I thought the film was some pretty harmless fun. I'm happy to report there was only one fart joke, and overall the film didn't irritate me. To be fair, I wasn't like Carsten and watched every Illumination movie back to back, so that definitely helped my case. I will say there is one scene in this kids film that I'm surprised was there, where John Hamm is trying to torture the Minions and literally puts them in a noose. But hopefully kids don't understand that part. Overall, I agree with most of these FilmTubers takes, and I'm happy to hopefully be joining this niche with them. All their links will be listed below. Thanks for watching.